All right.
Call the meeting to order. Meeting properly announced.
Yes.
Roll call will show that all committee members are here. Approval of agenda. So second. Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? None, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. For participation, I don't see anything, but if there is, we'll take it. Approval of minutes of last meeting. Make a motion to approve them.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from last meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Review and act on County Z, Edgewood sidewalk placement.
Yep. So remember, we had discussion quite some time ago now. Sidewalk across the frontage of the Hiawatha Hotel is not able to be part of the project. And it's not being installed there as part of the project. DOT's kind of a little more flexible with the possibility and desire really to install that sidewalk this season. And so there no longer needs to be project closeout. There just needs to be clear separation between whose work is taking place. So it really kind of is a good thing for the county, for the highway department as well. I mean, there's no point in restoring something and then, the county come back in there, either a month later or even next spring, and then cut that all back out and build the sidewalk. So the desire, so everything needs to work out, which it sounds like it's going to. It sounds like things are still on schedule out there. So it sounds like the county could install that sidewalk. We could let that sidewalk to be constructed this fall yet. It's not very likely that we will get the same contractor that's doing the flat work or the curb work out there now, because his work will be done before we're able to let our project out. He could still bid on it, but it's such a small quantity, likely will not come back for that. So, and when I'm talking about that and I say bidding it or letting it, it's not a huge stretch, but I think if the committee, you folks have different thoughts, I was going to bid it out and let it to contract. It's about 300 feet across the frontage of the Hiawatha.
Yeah, Scott.
Is that on our dime or their dime? Or?
This would be all county funded, all county dollars. We cannot have any of the state, we cannot have any of the state funded, federal dollars involved in this work.
That's why it's.
So we'll have some restoration, we'll have sidewalk. We probably will match the typical section that they've used on the rest of it, right? So it would only seem to make sense. Their typical section, 6 inches of gravel, driveways are 6-inch flat, away from the driveways 5-inch. So I can.
So the curb and gutter will be there though. But not
Yeah,
the sidewalk.
the curb will be there, we just won't have the sidewalk, so we'll just work right off that back of curb for grades. The contractor will, that's what we'll direct them to do. About 300 feet, we were paying, I know Mr. Bork's there, right, so stuff. We were paying our flat work, it's about $5 a square foot. For the gravel place, we were at $27 a ton. I mean, if you figure that out roughly, we're, using their numbers, they have a bigger quantity. We'd be roughly around 10 grand, 10,000, 9,000. On a smaller quantity, maybe we pay slightly more, but it's not like this is $100,000 ask or something like that. Why now? Why? We do have some folks who are wheelchair bound in that area, and they actually do like to get out and about. We've been, the county, the contractor have been accommodating and working on access, keeping certain areas rolled tight. And So the thought was here to allow us to move forward and allow that continued access all the way to the north end, up to the convenience store, is where the desired end path is for this person. Well, that's to ask us, like I say, it's not $100,000. This would be county funded, would be, I propose a LET project. I suspect we get probably one of the local guys here, likely end up helping with it.
Would you let them put the base course down, or would you guys put the base course down?
Yep, I'd let them do it. Unless you have a desire to tell me to do it. Putting 5-6 foot wide base course behind curb is just kind of tedious work with a bug.
About 3 truckloads
Yeah.
of base course.
Yep, it's not an extreme amount. It'd be their work, it'd be their grades, it'd be their gravel, their shape. Yeah, so it would just take us out of the loop of, well, you don't have it shaped right, or that's a soft spot, things like that. We of course would oversee it and watch it. It's sand. I don't foresee that we're going to have any type of sand. We talked about this in County Trunk Highway Z weekly meeting about the necessity of gravel underneath the sidewalk and could it potentially be eliminated? Ultimately, it stayed in the contract, it stayed in. We will need to maintain that sidewalk in some type of fashion, so we just decided to leave it in. It was part of the bid, it stayed in, so additional support, right? We drive and pick up on it.
How thick's the concrete on it?
5, 6 in the drives.
Looking for something in retirement there? Or no?
Yeah.
I got one more if we're done with the sidewalk question on that project. I had 2 people approach me about lighting. What did we ever decide on lighting? Did we say no lighting?
No, what's existing was up there.
Yep. Yeah. So we can, if I can cautiously talk in this area, because we are close to where we are working, we didn't add any new lighting. All we did do is reconfigure the lighting that the county was already paying for along the causeway, and that's where it will stop. Our last light pole will be right by the Marina driveway. And our very north pole or light will be just south, right, they're going to,
entrance of the park there.
no, our lighting does not go past the marina. Our lighting stays on that causeway, and that's all the further it will go. Our northernmost light is right by the convenience store, right? There's a sign there, and ACEC is going to wait until the fence is in place so that they don't have to move it or be in the way.
But the parks have a light down there.
I think the
Yes, I
first,
do.
The parks may have, I'm not
You know
feeling
that little parking area out front, there's a street light out there.
I can't recall.
Yeah, I think when I go past there, it's lit up.
We will have, as part of our project, we will have pedestrian crossing lights, but no additional street lights.
Okay, good, that's fine, I just wanted, I've had a couple people ask me, and I said, I do not think there's gonna be any, but what's existing here right now, so.
That's
At least I told them,
that's the case.
We talked about that.
right, I remember talking about it, but no.
Motion to approve the sidewalk placement.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the sidewalk placement. Is there any more discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Review and act on 2023 departmental budget.
So if you had a chance to look in our folder, I don't know how far you want to go. There's several documents here to look at and review. Let me just back up here. Kyle or Cynthia, do you want to drive this or do you want me to?
Yep. Yeah, I'm on. So in the past, we've always had it come to committees in August for the budget, and this is this is before Cynthia and I have had a chance to meet with the individual departments to go over the budget. So what you're seeing is actually, it's preliminary. We haven't historically made many changes with the highway department. I think there's just been a few adjustments for levy and then how much we get for local transportation aids. But right now, this is just kind of preliminary. It's the department's ask, but there are a few things up in the air with regards to the highway department on if we're going to issue debt or if we're going to get the BIL funding. So there's really, this may end up coming later next year as we refine the budget process. So then what the committee will be seeing in the future, maybe a more final draft of the budget.
Okay.
Kyle, sorry. Kyle, do you maybe want to touch on the Highway M funds that we're budgeting? The funds that were both included in this year that are sort of just sitting there in limbo, and then what we're budgeting for next year and how potentially that might be used for, debt if it goes that route.
Actually, I think I'll defer that to Pat. He'll be able to give a more
Okay.
thorough explanation for that. Pretty much what it comes down to, though, is we have money budgeted for a project, but we don't have a project. But Pat, if you want to elaborate a little more on that.
Right, so the sheet I have, let's just say, I'll start at a very high level. Our levy request remains the same. We didn't ask for an increase. We're not expecting to get an increase. We asked for 3.4 million. That's what we historically have been receiving for multiple years. That's the request that we've submitted. That's on the top here, 3.41 million, 3.42, 3.4. It's always right in that range. The other number down here that you see here, this 1.486, that's general transportation needs. That's our GTA monies coming, okay? The document that we are looking at here is making the assumption that we get the BIL grant, that we get funding from the state. If that happens, we will have a match for that project. We're anticipating that the BIL funds, I'm saying this right, are going to be in that, right, 6.4, Sherry? But in addition to that, we will have, the highway department will have a match dollar to that, because the BIL program will be very, just like County Z, 80-20 is what we are expecting. So we'll have a match to that, okay? When you look at this form, this one here, if you decide to look at it further than what we discussed, and we can always come back to this. Right here is making the assumption that we're going to receive the BIL grant. See that? This other one here, though, this does not. Now we are not receiving BIL funds. We prepared it two ways that we will not, making the assumption we don't receive any BIL money. The other stuff still stays the same. We're still 3.4 on the levy. We're still 1.486 on our GTA funds. But here's where we get into here that we're going to say that we're going to have, we're going to bond, right? So the bond, we're making the assumption that we're going to bond in the amount of approximately 5 million. Why did we say 5 million? Because in our discussions with finance is that we have approximately-ish 1.5 million that was originally dedicated towards County M. And then we have another 1.5 million that we had planned.
Right.
Yeah, we had planned for County Truck OEM. So we're gonna take that money and throw it at the project and offset what the county would need to bond. And that's what the second one here, when you look, if you look at these later, you can see it right here, it says bond. One is bond, the other one is BIL. We don't know which one's going to move forward. We're all hoping for the bond. BIL. Cynthia, I caught it, BIL. The BIL funds. Okay. So our ask or our request on the levy is still the same, it hasn't changed. Okay, so these other numbers here, of course, are all other active, like here's winter maintenance down here. We're proposing 900, am I right? Yeah, 900 in there. But I think, if I'm guessing correctly, I think you guys probably want to hear more so what I am proposing for road improvements besides County M, right? I don't know if Cynthia or Kyle had a chance to look at this. So we call this document here our CIP, Well, internally, Sherry and I call it our CRP. This takes a 5-year look at things that we're trying to forecast or plan ahead for. So let's specifically look at 2023 and what we think we might be doing. That's. So here's where you see that 856, that 8 million. That's County M. One way or another, we're all hoping that we have an expense towards County M, right? So we know that's what. So here's some other things that I have proposed and that will be a part of our 2023. So County Trunk Highway Double C, that's just north of M. It's an east-west road. About 22 years in age since its last improvement. Right at the moment here, I'm showing it as a mill and overlay. We're having some discussions here internally and maybe with one of the contractors in the area, if we could potentially just overlay it as opposed to milling it, that would decrease the cost. The other one is the same age vintage, it's double X down at the south end of the county. About same length, so I'm proposing about 248,000 in there for those two roads. So mill it, widen it, and then overlay the entire thing. So similar to what we've done on H. We've done it on G, double E, A, are all roads that we've done work like that. Now I want to say we let that type of work. We don't do that internally. That's like contract. Then after that, you can see we go down a little further and there's several seal coat projects here. Double E, G, K, and Q are slated for seal coating, proposed to be seal coated in 2023. Okay. Even with that, it's 4 roads. Seems like it would be a pretty big list. It's not very many miles in seal coat.
I'm backing up just a little bit because I'm kind of new at this. When you mill a road, how deep do you mill?
We would propose 1.5 to 2 inch milling. That both of those 2 roads are 4 inches of asphalt. Supposed to be 4 inches of asphalt.
Then my next question would be, okay, so you mill that much out, how much will you overlay?
2. So we would have some preliminary discussions with maybe one of the local contractors on what might work best, but usually 1.5, 2 inch mill, 2 inch overlay.
Is that mill stuff recycled?
The mill stuff would be recycled, and actually we would get a credit for it if it goes back to the contractor. So we get I don't want to say a deduct, but we get a decreased cost on the project because they'll take it back to the quarry and incorporate it into the projects. Or you could keep it, and then we would have a slight increase in the cost of the project. Millings by themselves for us, we struggle with once we put them down on the road. If there's a high oil content in them and you put them on the road, They look fine and they perform very well for a few years. After that, they start to set down. They set down for us, and it's hard to maintain them. You can't put gravel on top of it because it gets blown right out. You can't really reclaim it or regrade it because it chunks up on you. And so we've kind of gotten away from recycle on our shoulders. Then the last line in here that I have in here is engineering, and I got it just listed as bridge and road. That's out on County Z because we will need to start getting the next phase of County Z ready for the following 2024 year then.
That's down there by Donnie Ave.
And I don't want
There's two of them.
to, there are two bridges. The one bridge that I have listed here is, you guys know this curve better than I do, and I don't, it's White Creek, right? That is that Hoffman or Hoffman's there in that curve? It's White Creek. It's the first large culvert crossing south of H.
Okay, that's kind of more of a dry,
It's a dry, yeah, it's basically a dry
Put the
creek.
pipe in last year.
We put the temporary pipe in last year. When we put the temporary pipe in last year, remember we had that, you know, I made that agreement with DNR, let us put this pipe in because I'm gonna go after the bridge in the following year.
Is it
which-
Nicholson's the closest? thing?
Yeah. That dry creek, actually, the pipe we have in there now is undersized. The pipe that was in there, according to the DNR, was undersized. So that's scheduled to be a new structure, a bridge structure. And that's where that design would be. The other road portion of it, I had shown here, you can see right here, from Ember to Edgewood. From Ember to Edgewood, I have scheduled for, 2024, and that's because I was able to line up, or we were fortunate enough, or we got or received some funding from DOT, so it's smaller chunks of funding. So through the LREP program, I think this one here has, there's another sheet here we'll get to that actually has it on it. I think it's about 468,000. That would be DOT participating in the construction of that. However, we don't need to, they won't be as involved in our project like they are out on County Z. It would be county oversight. Does that make sense? You guys want me to keep going down this, or you think that 2 year, I don't want to talk your ears off or anything, because I just want to advise everybody here and those listening, this will or possibly could change. If funding goes a different way, if something happens catastrophic on our highways where we need to redivert money quickly, something's going to have to give, and we would make a change to do that. Now, we could get, say it's I don't know, some type of catastrophe, nonetheless, it needs to be repaired and paid for. Now, we might recover money, but it won't be that day. It'll be later on down the road. So that's the real quick.
And there's possibilities of on Z, some of that stuff for VIL monies.
Exactly correct. Say, for example, we come out of here with 2 VIL projects because I did submit 3, then this changes. Then I would take, then more than likely, I will take the smaller funds, the smaller parts of that DOT money, and I would move it to a different area. The DOT, these small pots of DOT money, we have a 6-year window to use those. So we can move them around a little bit, still get them utilized. I have to ask permission to do that, but they would say yes.
In a normal year, you should usually try and schedule about 5 million worth of projects. I mean, I know we said on this $8 million project that we were saving money by doing it all at once, but the typical year about 5 million.
No, typical year of reconstruct for us is right in that 1.5 million range. That's typically what we would have to
Oh, okay.
spend, because while it appears that we are flush with money, and I'm not complaining by any means yet, but you take 3, 4, and you take, what is it, 1, 1, 5, 1, 3. You have to pay wages and stuff out of that. Your maintenance comes out of that. All your other general maintenance needs to come out of that pot of money as well. So we just can't throw it all at new.
So what you're saying here, this is the wish list if this money all comes through.
Like, we can make this happen if the money comes through.
Right.
We have this figured. If I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna rely on Sherry here a little bit, but we have this figured that we can make this 2023 year work either through BIL or through bond. And she's nodding her head yes.
Hey, Pat, it looks like that is the case. If you look at the funding source, looks like there's a side note there, kind of cut off, but it says or bond, I'm sure.
I got my face in the way, I think, Cynthia, so I don't know if I can get over
Oh,
there. And I'm just gonna minimize that. Oh, there we go, yeah. So, right, so Cynthia's over here with us. Oh, man. There we go. So we put some side notes on here for our own use, and we're talking internally here. So when you, actually, here's those, I was talking about those smaller pots of state money. So here's that 468,000. Here's another one of 303,000, and here's one for 102,000. This 102,000, that's going to go towards the construction of that bridge that we were just talking about. That's going to be roughly, hopefully nowadays, probably a little less than half. Prices have gone up. But when we initially got our engineer's estimate for it, we were right in the neighborhood of half on that little structure. Probably won't be quite there now. But still good fit.
So the other bridge ain't figured in there.
The other bridge is in here, but I don't have a new funding source for it or a state aid for it yet. Doesn't mean I can't find one.
Right.
We will come, let's see, when Sherry and I just talked about that. Oh, right here, White Creek. So we will, let's see. Sherry, will Adams County be eligible again? We will be eligible again for that. Because the new cycle will be here before we get to that bridge. So we could again assign that same $102,000 for the next one down the road. Why did I do it that way? No one's asked that yet. I'm sure you gotta get in from one way or another. And you can't shut it down. It'd be nice.
Do both of them at the same
It'd
time.
be great if we could have the contract to do both at the same time. It's just, people gotta get from one way or
Or
another.
give them a vote.
I mean, there it ain't gonna be closed to local traffic, because
Yeah,
it's gonna be a detour.
it'll be, you won't get through there, not successfully, no. So there, I don't show it on here, but in all, like we just mentioned, in all likelihood, we'll be eligible for that, or we will be that 102,000. We could assign it there as well. I don't know, you want me to keep chattering on this thing, or you think we've gone far enough? I don't want to get too far down on this list because it, like I say, it may change on us. I think a good look is the first 2 years to think about. We get after that, things, we move
A
around.
lot can change.
Make a motion to forward it through the process.
You want me to stop talking already?
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I mean, I'm satisfied.
I have since we're on a roll here, and I hope nobody has, I got a few more documents here I can share with you. And so these are not all the documents that we have, and I'll just kind of be brief on these then, and then we can questions and comments and whatever else. This is our asset replacement schedule. You can see, I show a few things on here. This changes too. I can almost guarantee it changed from the last time, a couple of the folks, had a chance to look at it. I got a tractor, a boom mower, a pickup, a trailer. The trailer is more, when you think of it, like, I don't want to call, I'll call it a skid steer trailer, something that our track skid steer will fit on, which we don't have yet. And then the vac trailer that we previously talked about, we kind of, internally here, we kind of talked about a track trailer, a vac trailer, but with County Z construction and the storm sewer, it is a necessity to have one now. We've entered into an MOU to maintain that storm sewer. If we get a storm, a heavy storm event, we need to go out and check those sumps in that storm sewer. They need to be clean if they're full of sediment. So we just can't put the casting on and walk away. We've made a commitment that we're going to maintain them, and this piece here will definitely do that. The construction trailer is just what it sounds like. It's a construction trailer to fit our skid steer on. Now, you can see I'm not here proposing disposing of another trailer that we have. I'm not going to do that until I have one in my, basically in our hands, because things are, I'll tell you, the equipment world is really slowed down on delivery. I mean, they're talking.
Is that a deck over trailer you're thinking, or tilt bed, or?
The guys out back have kind of mentioned like a tilt or I don't know the proper term, we can, a deck that would slide back.
Yeah.
Um,
Just so they in between the axles. So.
I don't know if I'm a really big fan of that one with all the moving parts on it. So it is a skid steer, it will climb, and so something with a little less movement, I think, would be better long term. So we don't know the full type of trailer we're looking for, and I know we need something that'll fit our track skid steer on, which we can get it on a low boy trailer. Not real easy, not real. It's a large truck to haul a small piece of.
Yeah.
Now the trailers, when I mentioned the trailer, and I don't want to get sidetracked just on the trailer, but it's not going to be built just for skid steer. We want to be able to haul other stuff on. We have a utility tractor, we have rubber tire rollers and things like that we want to be able to get on. We need to make multiple use. The pickups on there, that pickup, I think right now, that's my old pickup. It's going to probably be 11, 12 years old at age. I have a note here. There it is. It is right at the moment. Well, I should say about 125,000 miles on it. I'm not saying it's wore out. It's not. But what we do is new pickups come into the fleet. They get assigned to management. So myself, Patrick Pear, or Josh Olson will see that truck, and they'll drive it for a period of time. Generally 100,000 miles, right around there, and then it gets transferred down to the crew where it spends the remaining part of its life, or tries to, we try to run the rest of the life out. Sometimes it doesn't work, and we ended up spending some money on pickups, but that happens. So the idea is one of the new truck would come in the fleet, that 3/4 ton that one of the superintendents are driving now, that gets slid down to the crew to use. So that's my desired plan for that one. The boom mower is just what it sounds like. That's a boom mower, it goes on that tractor. We talked about separating the two. Went out and talked to mechanics, talked to Gary. Tractor's roughly about 6,100, 6,200 hours on it. We talked about trying to keep it, but then we talked about the discussion was, well, the retrofitting the boom mower on that tractor. Tractor's got 6,100 hours on it. How long do you keep it before it starts going the other way on you? So I'm showing it in there to be replaced. So the unit would go as one. Yes, 280, because 380 is attached to 280.
Yeah.
We don't just use that tractor as a boom mowing tractor. We hook, when we're not using the boom mower, we hook a batwing mower behind it, and pull that around, so. And then, of course, when we're not using the batwing, we can take, put the boom mower on, get behind beam guard, back slopes, stuff like that. The boom mower itself is no longer being supported. Anything that goes on it now will need to be manufactured. It's just, they're not making parts for it anymore, they're not supporting. It occasionally happens. So that's that form. This form here is just kind of almost a duplicate of everything we just talked about. So it shows you everything we're going to expend funds on. Road construction and equipment. Shows you our estimated costs right here. I'm not gonna do, we just talked. Need to back up. There's one thing on here that doesn't show up on the other two forms. You can see here, I'm proposing some work to be done on the salt shed. We own a salt shed out by solid waste. That's a dome structure. The roof it's leaking. Well, it's just a salt shed. It is a salt shed, but the deal is when when rain gets on salt and then it sits, that salt tends to clump and get hard, and then it just creates a lot of headaches from there on out, because it gets in the augers, or it gets hung up, or it get pushed to the side, hopefully, then you gotta break it up. We're proposing to do a roof. I showed a dollar amount there of $100,000. I can tell you for sure one way, we're way short. If we put a membrane roof on there, a covering, if you will, I think everybody knows what I'm referencing here. You're probably more in lines with the dollar amount of $280,000. I talked to a gentleman, I think it's Lincoln County. Lincoln County, they did a membrane on their dome, $260,000. That was in 2018. I'm sure the price has gone up now. I showed $100,000 in there. When I was talking to him, he was talking about a 25, 30-year life expectancy on that membrane roof, and that just doesn't seem to be enough to me to justify that big of a cost. So I was, what can we get out of an asphalt or a shingle roof if you put?
That's what's on there now, correct?
Yeah, that's what's on there now. If you guys, any idea what a salt dome?
Yeah, I've seen it. I know what you're talking about.
Can you imagine that I'm thinking about
The
just
pitch.
the amount of cuts and trimming and ridge caps that you need to do or something like
We did
that.
Chucky's dome house out there. That was a pain.
I'd pack my estimate bag up and walk away.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that. But maybe an asphalt roof is maybe a better fit for us. I'm still trying to retrieve some costs on asphalt roof. I reached out to a couple of roofers down south and didn't get a response yet. So, but nonetheless, we're going to propose a repair or roof project on our dome. Sherry, help me out again. The age of the dome is 2000. So 22 years old right now. What type of shingles were used on it? I did not go back and look. Maybe 25, maybe a 30-year shingle back then. Likely was probably a 3. I know it's a 3-tab shingle that went on there. Could we do better with an architectural shingle, a 30-year, or I don't know, they make, I think, a 40-year shingle now?
Is it gonna be a tear-off?
If it's a membrane, yes, they will have to take it off and attach the
But
membrane.
is there 1 or 2 layers on there now?
One
Okay.
on. We currently do have shingles missing. We currently do have leaks. Proposing something to take place out there. If it's a membrane roof, boy, I'd like to see a lot more years of service than that.
50 at least.
They could put two asphalt roads on.
Likely. Well, I went through all my documents already. That's all you have to look at here.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Oh, hold on, folks. I got everybody back in the room. I don't really think the budget's something that the committee needs to act on, if I'm saying it correctly, Cynthia. This is really just here it is, folks. I guess I guess for myself.
It does say review and act on here though.
Yeah, but it's not something we act on.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it is. Gosh,
Yeah, review and or act.
so no action, please, I think is what Cynthia will tell us. But
Yeah.
do you guys have thoughts on this sheet here, our construction, what we're proposing? I mean, if there's really heartache here, now would be a time to get me redirected on where we're headed. The big projects, like I say, where I'm concentrating our efforts and money are going to be M and then back out on counties. That's where I can see I have the state aids submitted.
I think typically we don't actually do any motion on that until it's actually a final budget. Correct.
Yeah, all I historically have delivered is the proposed budget to the highway committee, and then Kyle and Cynthia actually take it to finance, and I'm just periodically back, to give some support or backup.
Mr.
Cynthia's
Chair,
on mic.
Mr. Chair, according to the agenda, to me, the item being a review and or act is just a boilerplate statement. And this is just a review at this point.
It just needs to be reviewed, she said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not that it needs to be voted on.
Yeah.
That's the case, withdrawn.
Any other questions on the budget stuff so far? No, we'll move on. 2022 project status report.
Those documents are attached to the meeting agenda if you can desire to look at it. So, I hate to say it. It's the project stat. Oh, Kyle's back. Kyle, this is our project status report. I did update it here a little bit for you. We got some numbers in for a seal coating. The two bottom numbers, I have the right sheet here. Yep. The two bottom numbers here, county B or county I rather, geez, county I, we come in about 189,000. And then county E was about 366.
Yeah, about what was budgeted for it.
Yeah.
I knew you guys were going to ask me that. Sherry, do you have the
What's more on that slide?
Yeah, there's more there.
Yeah, you gotta.
Keep
slide
sliding.
over.
Can you
I
slide
really-
over?
There you go.
Cause then you got, that was the budget.
There you go.
how was that? Was that quick? Yeah, I'm really struggling with computers today. I did not have a good day at all.
Yeah, there you go.
It happened very first thing this morning. I walked in, I couldn't get into my computer. So we had 161, I'm sorry.
Yes, the other way.
I need to backtrack on what I said. Looking at the entire form, our final cost on I was 161.5. We had budgeted 189. Final cost on E, county E was 339, we had shown in our budget 366. Then when you go up from there, I did show a number, not in the far right hand, but what we have expended so far on County Z, 117,000 and some change. So we got pay requested from DOT. And then I just made a note up here. The DOT changed their announcement date to mid-September for the VIL. I did get asked a few more questions about our project. You know, environmental, clearing and grubbing, utility type questions. I don't know. I'm not gonna read into it too far and I'm gonna let them take their path, I guess. So, you see that again, Ken?
No.
It is attached though.
Yeah. We gotta pay the 20% of that 7 million.
Oh, boy. We have a state municipal agreement with the state of Wisconsin, and if I were to tell you that's our estimated cost of 7 million. Our SMA is probably not exactly 7 million. But I certainly can share the SMA with everybody. The SMA will break down what will be federal funds and what will be local funds.
Right.
We need to pay 20% of our SMA agreement. Once we go over the SMA agreement, you can, if there's project overruns, say we run into a huge area of EBS, and that was not planned for in the project. You need it done. That work would be added. It would be an increase to the project. I would go through the contract change management process and would ask or request more funds because of something that EBS.
Unforeseen.
And then the DOT would make their determination if they were going to participate or not. So far, they've been very participating, willing. They participated in change management up on Z, up by Devil's Elbow, and they already have on County Z prior to the contract even being let. Because the bids come in high, actually the DOT and they reached out and said, we need to initiate a change management here right away. And they actually increased the SMA for us because the cost coming higher than was anticipated. And we all felt it was time to move forward with the project.
Yeah.
Anything else on that?
Questions?
On to highway department operations.
Yeah. Right. Right, so I think everybody's kind of already realized we've completed our first round of mowing. We actually did go down and do some mowing for the town of Springville. We did recently complete our shouldering 21 DMA. We worked with, of course, Marquette County and Washira County. We had a shouldering machine from one, trucking from another, and did the shoulder work they requested. There will be monies left over on that DMA. We are asking to allow. There's some spots out on 21 they would like to have the wheel ruts filled. They're pretty bad. So their proposed method is to take our 40-inch mill, set it down in the pavement, and cut those out, and then repave those back in. It's on a skid steer, so It's not like a high capacity mill like you might see on a bigger construction project. That's not going to be a timely task. 40 inches wide, it's not something you put in with a paver, so it's a lot of hand load work, rake, shovel, hand loads, possibly a greater blade if we can configure one, which we were talking about to help strike that off. But what we're asking for is, because they're talking about 21 being fast tracked, and so what I mean is they're probably going to accelerate it to the mill and overlay process. Would they consider allowing us just to overlay that area as opposed to trying to mill it out? I don't, it sounds good sitting here, but the end product I don't think is going to be a very good deal.
I think an overlay would be a lot.
So we've kind of already put the seed out there that why don't we use the excess funds to do the overlay, and then we can shoulder it as well, of course, under the DMA. We haven't got a response back yet, but we will have cost savings in that DMA. DMA was $130,000. Work was planned for 4 days, got it done in 2 days. There's funds going to be up there. So we did that work. We actually sent our seal quarter over to Washera County. Theirs broke down, so we did some chipping for them over there. We also did some paving with Washera County, so in that we sent trucks and drivers over there. We often share resources, trucks back and forth, Washera, Marquette, Green Lake, Wood. We did some painting. Here's another case. Columbia County paint truck broke down. They needed some painting done on their seal coat roads. We did help them out. We ran down there and did some painting actually last week and this week. It sounds like it could be a bigger, a little more involved. It sounds like the repairs to their truck are a little more substantial than they're going to be able to get corrected real quick. So we may do some more painting for them. Here's one, County Z, Edgewood F I have on here. We kind of talked about it a little bit. Here's some more discussion on that project. We're talking about paving out on County Z, and we're talking about paving early. We're talking about specifically by the park up to F, or the north project limits. That, if you drive through there, that's getting closer and closer. I mean, it's getting close. The early paving date would be August 22nd. The early pave date would be August 22nd. There's a time slot in Gasser's schedule that would fit there. The contractor's scheduled pave date is September 19th. So about a month. That just doesn't happen. The project, the contractor is planned for one mold to come in and pave. Whether that actually happens or not, that's how it was, that's how they claim it was bid. So we're talking about early paving. Early paving comes with an increased cost. There's mobilization and haul time. The portable plant will not be out at Mayhew at that time. The portable plant's not scheduled to come in until later. So there's an increased cost, about $35,000, $36,000, the increased cost to pave from the park up to county. How we feel about that?
Is it just gonna put binder down? They're not gonna put both mats down, are they?
I have the note, and I don't want to pull it up right now. It's about 3,000 ton mix.
So if you wait, we could save that 35?
No, you're gonna pay extra 30.
You're gonna you're gonna potentially pay $35,000.
Would that be a
extra.
cost share thing with the state, or would that be all?
That was my question, and I knew someone was gonna ask, that was my question to the state, hey. If you wanna pave it early, will you cost share in it with us? And then my answer is pretty easy, yeah, go do it. They were reaching out to their people, central office down in Madison, to see if that would fit into the project as paving it early to restore access. We know we have some movement out there. To avoid potential cold weather paving, cold weather paint. So those are things that they were using on their end with their central office down in Madison to justify including this for an 80-20 split. Didn't get an answer back for sure on that. If it's going to be 80-20. So it's being discussed, and I don't have a definitive answer if it's an 80-20 share. If it's 80 federal, 20 local.
No idea when you'll find out either.
No, I don't. The question was posed today. Hopefully it goes quick. The question was posed today because, you know, the contractor, the paving contractor, they want to close that window and fill the gaps, right? Get it scheduled. Otherwise, they'll go somewhere else.
Is that what, like a mile down there?
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about that, I think it's right at a mile.
You know, like, then you're looking at about 26 feet wide, 28 feet wide.
I'll tell you all that. Yep. I have it broke down, Ken. If you want to see the email, I can pull it up. They did it for us.
I'm just trying to figure out if there's one next there. Both.
So anyway, I might be, well, Ken's punching numbers there. I might need to make a decision on whether or not to spend $35,000, or if it's a cost share, pretty easy answer. Yeah, I'd say go ahead and do it. Like the 35. You know, is a month early worth it? One of the things that's going to come with new pavement, they put that new pavement down, whether it's binder or surface, speed's going to come with it.
More people are
And
gonna
more
travel.
traffic will come with, it. And I've shared that with project staff out there. Once we make it black, don't expect traffic to slow down, don't expect less of it. They will want to try to get through. So they were aware, and I did make them aware of that as well.
2 inches is about 2,000 ton. You go down through there. I can't remember, was it 5 inches asphalt down through there? It's supposed to be in there.
Yeah.
Maybe they're putting one lift going down through.
Even with one,
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna pick up speed, you're gonna pick up traffic, so everybody's gonna say it's.
so the other, why would we be involved? I mean, really, right, it is the most residential area on the road. And the homes are close to the road. We do have the park, we have the businesses, we have the folks with ADA needs.
You're looking at 1 month difference for $36,000. Like you said, if it was a cost share, I could swallow, but 1 month for us to swallow that, you know, a lot of money.
I contended that while I think there's some mutual benefit to be had here, why don't we have a discussion on the cost? Somebody's got to maintain the gravel.
Yeah.
Not us, the contractor.
Right.
So
Yeah,
he's
they're
got
not-
something to gain.
They're not having to water it, and even that, it's filling a hole in, not that Gasser don't have other places going, but they're thinking that that's advantage to them, because in the fall, when they're gonna be coming in, you know, September, their big push comes to shove on a lot of places, and they're looking at maybe a 3,000 ton down here. Now it's gonna save them how much time when they're gonna need to be on other places.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's gotta be a little bit, everybody's gotta give up. The art of the deal is everybody's gotta feel they got taken over just a little bit.
Well, like Ed and I were talking earlier, there's some trucking costs difference now that would be in there.
They have to come out Lake down or down the Gasser's Pit on 23 or
Baraboo.
Bearwood. Yeah, because then it's kind of a bad deal because they gotta go all the way around. They can't come through the project.
Yeah,
That, you know, in that, well, that's just the way, you know, when they bid those projects, they know which end they're gonna start paving on, because then they can run on that asphalt to get up there quicker. And when they gotta go around all the way through, that Maisy's not gonna want them trucking through when they're doing work on there.
okay. I mean, I kind of hear what the feeling is. Predominantly. Still under that note, though, I just would mention that if you haven't heard me say it, they were waiting for a 200 pair of copper to show up out there. It did show up, and they have been installing it. So that was good news. In addition to that, we have had some complaints on the project. It hasn't been without scrutiny. For some odd reason now, Wisconsin River Power has reached out, and they were a bit surprised to see us connecting into the ditch. They requested previous communication, which we provided. Communication was documented, and received the plans, they received, and again, they received the stuff most recently when we got ready to build. So I don't know, there might be a site visit. I guess we'll have to see where that item goes. Had a few other, one other gentleman did not reach out to me directly that I can recall. I know when talking to this gentleman, is very displeased with our construction. Is displeased with the curb and gutter, displeased with our connection to the ditch. Does not like the idea of stormwater going directly to Castle Rock flowage. He was contacted by DNR. DNR, of course, reviewed our project, approved our project. Did not really like the answers or response that DNR, our local transportation liaison, gave him. Further commented that he likely will be going directly to EPA to file. See where it goes. We did not bypass any steps. We did not skip anybody in the process. Does it appear that we will ever see water in the ditch run over those from our ditch over those little levees into the Castle Rock ditch?
So those things are deep.
I don't think so. I don't think so. If we need to meet in the field, we can. And like I say, we didn't bypass Wisconsin River Power. We didn't bypass DNR or any of that stuff. So. Other than that, the project is on schedule yet. There have not been any lost days due to conflict, which is good.
Right? I think Kathy said the other day, Frontier shut her phone down for a while. They were switching over something.
That's good.
That is a good sign, just have that done.
So hopefully, now if Maisie needs to work on that east side of the road yet in many areas, but I mean, there's not a lot of work left there for them.
Was there some places out there they went right over the pavement and didn't have to?
So our project, when submitted and originally designed, there were reconstruct areas and then reconditioned areas. And yes, there were areas where you see them put gravel right over the asphalt. So they have to come back and pulverize that full depth. How are we going to verify that? We talked about this in the meeting as well. Well, Well, project staff, you're gonna have to pull and verify that we're through the asphalt. I asked, I said, does that pulverizer go that deep? They apparently mean yes, the answer was yes, they looked at it. They can pulverize that deep, so the gravel's on top of the asphalt, and the idea is that when it's ground, it'll all get all mixed up. So that it's
Come on,
closer in makeup or consistency that the other stuff is, so we don't get.
the only question, the only, I guess those guys will figure it out, but when you mix that up and it's over a foot deep, you can't get compaction at a foot deep.
So
The
that,
DOT will never allow you to put over a 6-inch lift in it. Now you're gonna be having over a foot of loose material.
so I said that too, I said, there's no way you can compact that much material, and they're not, they have to roll it off. Hit that spot, take everything back the other way, yeah. Talked about that too during that process, so actually talked about County Z. You get down by the town hall, you see there's a bunch of geogrid land, as if we were going to encounter a lot of soft areas or EPS. We really haven't. We had the contract had one area, a very small clay seam at the EBS. They did not use geogrid there because they punched straight through it in good sand. It was planned that was gonna go on that hill where the irrigation is.
Oh, back there.
Yep. It's good sand there. It's,
Isn't GeoGrid, wasn't that figured for about from the town hall up to like Chuck Carter's or that subdivision where that clay seam is, or is that where they did? I think that's what I remember on the plan is that was to be,
is that where you saw it?
it seems like that's where I seen it,
I was-
because there's that clay seam where there's always that frosty right there halfway between that subdivision and the town hall. That's where I always thought it was supposed to go.
Well, I guess my overall comment on the GeoGrid is I don't foresee us putting it all in the ground, if any of it.
I think
And
cost
the
savings.
majority of it, they're trying to get a restock on.
That's
I don't
expensive.
want, the county, myself, I don't want. We had that stuff here for one time, we had it in storage for years before we ended up using it.
I use that a lot on projects. That was a great thing when you have a soft road to put that on.
Any more on Z stuff? We did some work for the town of Newchester. We did a culvert, some grading on Second, and see the other one was on Elk, east of G. We're doing some work for the town of Springville on Gale Avenue. It's a little different. We're replacing some crushed concrete on Gale Avenue down there, and it is a project. It is. See, other than that, am I missing anything?
Have you heard when Peterson's come out to crush?
Yes, I did, October. They left 13 and 21. I couldn't tell you guys specifically. They jumped around a little bit north, then south. They're down in Dane County right now.
No, the stuff that I asked Charlie the other night at the solid waste, the stuff that they stockpile stuff at the salt shed up there. Is that our, because Charlie kind of made it sound like that was the highway department's material, or?
No, he's not gonna let us have 4,000 ton. He wants to know if we want to buy 4,000 ton, and as a municipality, I just can't go out there and buy 4,000 ton from him.
So they'd have to truck that
So
on site.
they're, when I tell him, no, I can't buy it from you, I would like to, the price is right, but I can't. He's probably going to reach out to the surrounding townships first, right there, and try to do a sale on it there. That's what we talked about. The topsoil left there, yes. I'm gonna try to grab us pile of that stuff out of there from him, if he'll leave some for us. But as far as purchasing the entire pile, roughly 4,000. Can't really do that. We should solicit bids for this, and we have. You guys really did spring, summer?
I didn't hear you.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I thought you had something, I thought you were gonna say
No.
something. Oh, yeah, that was, you guys said- I was done with my stuff here, unless you guys got more questions.
Anybody have any questions on financial report or vouchers?
I don't think vouchers are on there anymore, so,
It's on pads.
oh, sorry. Yeah. I really had a rough. go over it. I need to take that off my sheet. Vouchers don't show up on our agenda. Sorry about that. That's on my, that one's on my end.
Need to act on financial report or? Anybody's got anything for upcoming agenda items? Okay, we'll take care of that. Looks like the next meeting date will be September 8th. That work for everybody?
Is it good for you, Sherry?
Don't worry me. Rich will be here if I'm not here.
Okay. All right, next meeting will be September 8th. And reach the end of the agenda, so the meeting is complete. Thank you, guys.